What is up, YouTube? Hello, Bella here. In this video, I'm going to be doing a book review for you. So I recently finished reading this little guilty pleasure, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, and the title in itself is pretty sexist, and there's a lot of sexist elements in the book, so I think that is one reason why I'm very conflicted about reviewing it. However, there's a lot of juicy information in here that I think is relevant, and I think that it will help women if they start to think about how the male ego is arranged and what matters to men and how men frame the way that they see women. I do apologize because I have a bit of a cold, so I'm sounding a little funny, but let's just get started because I have a lot of information to cover. So the first chapter that Steve writes is about what drives men. So he says men are driven by who they are, what they do, and how much money they make. So basically he said this sums up what a man does every single day. So he has a lot of, his ego is associated with how much he can make and how he provides and where he is on the totem pole in the status of life. And if you ever see men in a group setting, I think that this is really relevant because there are always men who are sort of on the top rung, and then there are the bottom feeder men, and then there are just the average guys. So it says if men aren't pursuing their dreams, if we're not chasing the who we are and the what we do and the how much we make, we're doomed, dead. But the moment that we figure out the puzzle and feel like our dreams are taking shape, new life breathes into us. It makes us vibrant, enthuses us, and animates us. From the moment I became a comedian, I stepped onto that stage ready to be the very best. So Steve basically says that there are three things that men will do if they are actually interested in you. He says that they will profess their love, provide for you, and protect you. And he goes deeper into these, but basically he says that if a man comes to an event with you and introduces you, like say he says, oh, this is Bella, instead of this is my girlfriend, or this is my partner, or this is my fiance, if they just say your name, then that is all you are to them, because a man who respects you and wants you in his life will give you a title. And I actually really agree with this one. I was talking to my mom about this, and she said that she has always paid attention to how men introduce her to other people, and I never really thought about that, but now it makes a lot of sense. If he introduces you as his friend or by your name, have no doubt that's all you are. He doesn't think any more of you than that. In your heart of hearts, ladies, you all know this. There are some old-fashioned values in this book about how men should pay for dates and how they should also pay for anything that you need. This says a man who truly loves you would never make you ask for money for necessities. So basically, Steve thinks that a man who loves a woman is going to provide everything that she needs. So there's a lot of old school information in this. Keep in mind, this book was written in 2009. So this book is 11 years old. So a lot has changed since this has come out, but also, you know, men and women have been having similar patterns for pretty much all of eternity. He also says if a man can't provide, then he doesn't feel like a man. So he flees to escape the horrible feelings of inadequacy, or he's going to bury those feelings in drugs and alcohol. I can totally see this because sometimes when you see people who have lost their job or something, they wind up getting drunk all the time instead of actually like going out and finding a new job, because I think that the ego is struck so hard whenever there is a financial setback for a man. One thing that really threw me off about this book, and I almost stopped reading it, was the snorkeling story in the book. So actually scuba diving. Steve's wife is Marjorie, which this is his third wife, by the way, guys. So I don't know how much relationship advice you can take from someone who's been married 3 times, but Marjorie was on a scuba dive, and Steve started to freak out and told her that she had to come up from the water, and basically started to throw a tantrum to everyone on the boat, telling everyone if she doesn't survive, then he's gonna kill everyone on the boat. And I just, like, the whole entire story was just really off-putting, and at the end he basically says that it's in his DNA to protect her, but really I just found it extremely controlling. He says that she knows that she shouldn't do those kind of activities anymore because it's going to make him get worried. So at that point I was just like, wow, you are crazy. And you can watch his interviews and stuff and see that he has a lot of like sexist behavior. So anyways, let's talk about 3 things that he says that every man needs. So he says that every man needs your support, loyalty, and the cookie, which is obviously sex. So that is a no-brainer to all of us. Here's a thought from the book. He says, when a man approaches you, he has a plan, and the main plan is to sleep with you or to find out what it takes to sleep with you. If we don't want anything from you, we're not going to come over there, period. Please highlight this part right here so you can always remind yourself the next time a man steps to you. A man always wants something, always. When it comes to women, the plan is to find out two things. If you're willing to sleep with him, and if you are, how much will it cost to get you to sleep with him? So you can see that this whole entire book is basically centered around how men basically just want to use women for sex, and that women have to set up all of these rules and boundaries to make men work for it. So I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. If you're not setting any ground rules, then you're essentially telling him that you're open for his rules. I do agree with this. I think that women who fail to set boundaries in a relationship or in a dating scenario basically lose all of their power. And it's really just astounding to me to see how some women just go along with whatever a man wants, even down to when he wants to hang out, when it's convenient for him, what he wants to do. Like, she almost loses the fact that she has her own life and her own needs and her own schedule. So I just think that that is just not a good thing. Chapter 6 talks about this concept of sports fish versus keepers, and saying that men basically know which types of women they just want to basically have for sport, like to just have sex with, and they know what types of women they want to marry. And I totally think that this is relevant because I've heard a lot of guys say things like, yeah, I would basically have sex with her, but I would not make her my girlfriend. And I've heard a lot of men say similar things about party girls and fun girls, and how they would just screw them, but they would never be with them because she's a slut. And I mean, like, these are things that men actually say. So I think as women, we have to be aware of this, and also just aware of, like, if you act like that and you do that, that's probably how some people are going to think of you. Not saying that it's wrong or right, but this is how basically society is set up. He says, you control what you can control, your image, the way you conduct yourself, the way you let men talk to you and approach you, and you use that to get the relationship you want. So he said that he primarily wrote this book for his daughters, which I do believe to some extent, but at the same time, a lot of this information is basically saying that women are doing everything wrong, and that we're looking at men in the wrong light, and that we need to change the way that we see men and how we act around them, and we need to make them feel like more of a man, and we need to boost his ego and basically make sure that he knows that he is the top dog around the house, and never put him down, and always dress sexy. And it's just a bunch of BS, honestly. Like, I think overall this is a pretty, like, misogynistic book. There's one chapter on this book on cheating and why men who are married cheat, and I think that this is, like, a pretty interesting chapter, honestly. He says that a man can love his wife, his children, his home, and the life they've all built together, and have an incredible physical connection to her, and still get some from another woman without a second thought about it. Now, this to me is just crazy, but I have heard this so many times that I believe it. I think that this is the most horrible thing that someone can do, but at the same time, apparently, if there's a woman willing to do it, then men will do it. This says that men who think that they can get away with it are more likely to do it. It says that he has calculated the potential loss of the woman he loves, his children, his home, and his peace of mind, and he recognizes that this would be a devastating blow to all the things that matter to him in his life. So basically, men know what they are toying with when they cheat. He also goes on to say that men can cheat because there are so many women willing to give themselves to a man who doesn't belong to them. Regardless of a man's reasons, he knows what you know. It's wrong to commit to someone, then promise to remain faithful, and then go against that. Which I think this is the main point. Like, there's always that meme that says that woman's husband is not your soulmate. So, you know, that is something that he touches on in the book, is a lot of people step outside of their marriage, and, you know, that is not a good thing ever. But he says, he basically just gives some reasons to why that people do it, and the main reason that I can tell so far is that the guy was just a crappy guy to begin with, and another woman came along. Probably the best thing I got out of this book was on page 125. He has a section about the top 10 requirements that you would have, and these are questions to ask yourself about your potential mate. And I think that this is really, really important, because if we don't know what we want, then we can get stuck dating people that don't meet our standards, but we haven't really realized our standards. So it's important to lay out what you actually want. He says, what specific kind of man are you looking for? For example, funny, hardworking, generous. How do you expect to be pursued? Do you want regular phone calls, text messages, dates at least 3 times a week? Do you want him to always pick up the tab? What level of commitment do you expect? What kind of financial security? Do you want a man who wants kids and a family? Does he have to be religious or spiritual? Do you mind if he's divorced or has kids? Can you help him build his dream? Can you adapt to his plan? What do you expect of his family? What should he be willing to do to woo you? So these are things that I think it would be useful to answer. Some of them are a little bit ridiculous, like, would you help him with his plan? Like, no, I have my own plans. But anyways, he goes on in another section to say the 5 things that every woman should ask before she gets in too deep. Basically, that he's saying that you should ask a man what his short-term goals are and his long-term goals and just see how he reacts. And if he doesn't react like he knows what the hell he's doing, then you should get away from him really fast. The 3rd question is, what are your views on relationship? The 4th is, what do you think about me? And the 5th is, what do you feel about me? So I think that this is really just, this whole entire book is, I don't even know what to think of it, honestly. I read it and I read it really fast, but at the same time, there's so many things in here that are contradictory. So it's almost like I don't know, like honestly, it's 3 out of 5 stars, but at the same time, like, there's so much stuff in here that I'm just like smashing my head up against the table. Here he talks about this 90-day rule, which if you watch his show, he talks about that on there as well, basically saying don't have sex with someone for 90 days because why are you passing out benefits to men before they've proven themselves worthy? So, I mean, honestly, I think it's up to every individual to decide how long they want to wait, but I think that women who wait longer probably don't have any regrets, because if a man is just trying to sleep with you and you go on a couple dates and it's been, you know, I don't know, 7 or 8 weeks and you still haven't had sex, if he was just trying to sleep with you, he would have worn tired by now and went on to somebody else. So I think it is a good way to weed out people. He says, when it comes to having sex with a woman, we don't decide a thing. We don't determine when we're going to get to sleep with you. That decision is yours. Don't give up that power. Keep it. You only give up that power when the man has earned it and he is going to respect and do something with it. So this section here really makes me think about why he probably wrote this book for his daughters, because, I mean, most women know that if they sleep with a man straight out the gate, that the man is not going to see them as girlfriend material. That is something that is unfortunate in our society, but most of the time, if you sleep with someone up front, they're going to think that you do that with everybody and that you're not somebody that they want to make their long-term partner. I realize this has a lot of controversial views and information in it, but I just want to just kind of give a summary of it. I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but at the same time, I feel like it's good to see this perspective, because it's basically like looking into the mind of somebody that you don't know very well and just kind of seeing what all is going on in there. There's one question that says, how does he react when he is told no? And I think that this is really important, because when a man is told no, the ego is basically really fragile at that point. Is he says, when a man asks for sex and he is told no, his reaction to that will tell you everything you need to know about him. If the phone calls cease or become infrequent, the flowers stop coming, the dating slows down, please understand that this man was just in it for the sex. So that is basically what I just talked about. If a man is just trying to have sex with you, then you will find out pretty quickly, just by holding out for a couple of weeks. There are some chapters on kids and getting married in here that I kind of did not care that much about, because I don't really want either of those things. Maybe not ever, but definitely not right now. So I did not pay as much attention to them. But overall, I mean, honestly, I think this is a pretty good look into the male psyche in general, especially since this book is about 10 years old now. This is something that, you know, Steve Harvey is a pretty prominent figure on television, and he was actually a pretty famous comedian at some point. I don't really think he's super famous anymore, but he is on a lot of television shows, so I think that this book is still relevant, and I know they made a movie about it. I have not seen the movie, so I might have to check out that eventually. But overall, I think this book is pretty sexist, honestly. I'm sort of conflicted about it because I have a lot of feminist views, but at the same time, you know, we have to be armed with the information that the other people have as well, and we have to kind of know how people act and what they think and feel and what they think about us. So I think this was worth the read, if nothing else, just to see it from the other side. Hopefully this wasn't too annoying to listen to, but if you like this review, or if you have like thoughts on this book in general, please just leave it in the comment section below, because I really am still conflicted about it. So yeah, thanks for watching.